Hey dear, welcome to British Medical Language Center and welcome to English with Rocky sir.
Hey dear, I think you are really just super cool and super dandy wherever you are right now. Exactly, I think so. By the way, today I'm talking about podcast for listening test, posh language. Of course, listen and get your desired score. I'm talking about a book called Rich Dad and Poor Dad, written by Robert T. Kiyosaki. So guys, what you were just waiting for? Let's dive into it. Well, the first chapter of this book, there is a need. Introduction. Well, this book starts with a question. The question is, does school prepare children for the real world? Study hard and get good grades and you will find a high-paying job with great benefits. My parents used to say their goal in life was to provide a college education for my older sister and me, so that we would have the greatest chance for success in life. I finally earned my diploma in 1970, graduating with honors and near the top of my class in accounting from Florida State University. My parents had realized their goal. Wow, it was the crowning achievement of their lives. In accordance with the master plan, I was hired by a Big 8 accounting firm and I looked forward to a long career and retirement at an early age. My husband, Michael, followed a similar path. We both came from hardworking families of modest means, but with strong work ethics. Michael also graduated with honors, but he did it twice. First as an engineer and then from law school. He was quickly recruited. He was quickly recruited. He was quickly recruited. He was quickly recruited by a prestigious Washington, D.C. law firm that is specialized in patent law, and his future seemed bright, career path well-defined, and early retirement guaranteed. Exactly. Although we have been successful in our careers, they have not turned out quite as we expected. We both have changed positions several times for all the right reasons. But there are no pension plans vesting on our behalf. Our retirement funds are growing only through our individual contributions. Michael and I have a wonderful marriage with 3 great children. As I write this, 2 are in college and 1 is just beginning high school. We have spent a fortune making sure our children have received the best education available. One day in 1996, one of my children came home disillusioned with the school. He was bored and tired of studying. Why should I pour time into studying subjects I will never use in real life? He protested. Without thinking, I responded, because if you don't get good grades, you won't get into college, right? Regardless of whether I go to college, he replied, I'm going to be rich. If you don't graduate from college, you won't get a good job, I responded with a tinge of panic and motherly concern. And if you don't have a good job, how do you plan to get rich? My son smirked and slowly shook his head with mild boredom. We have had this talk many times before. He lowered his head and rolled his eyes, My words of motherly wisdom were falling on deaf ears once again. Though a smart and a strong word, he has always been a polite and respectful young man. Mom, he began, it was my turn to be lectured. Get with the times. Look around, the richest people didn't get rich because of their educations. Look at Michael Jordan and Madonna, even Bill Gates, who dropped out for Harvard, founded Microsoft. He is now the richest man in America, and he is still in his 30s. There is a baseball pitcher who makes more than 4 million a year, even though he has been leveled, mentally challenged. There was a long silence between us. It was dawning on me that I was giving my son the same advice parents had given me. The world around us has changed, but the advice hasn't. Getting a good education and making good grades no longer ensures success, and nobody seems to have noticed except our children. Mom, he continued, I don't want to work as hard as you and Dad do. You make a lot of money, and we live in a huge house with lots of toys. If I follow your advice, I will wind up like you, working harder and harder only to pay more taxes and wind up in debt. There is no job security anymore. I know all about downsizing and right sizing. I also know that college graduates today earn less than you did when you graduated. Look at doctors. Just look at doctors. Right? They don't make nearly as much money as they used to. I know I can't rely on Social Security or company pensions for retirement. I need new answers. He was right. He needed new answers, and so did I. My parents' advice may have worked for people born before 1945, but it may be disastrous for those of us born into a rapidly changing world. No longer can I simply say to my children, go to school, get good grades, and look for a safe, secure job. I knew I had to look for new ways to guide my children's education. As a mother, as well as an accountant, I have been concerned by the lack of financial education of children receiving a skill. Many of today's youth have credit cards before they leave high school, yet they have never had a course in money or how to invest it, let alone understand how compound interest works on credit cards. Simply put, without financial literacy and the knowledge of how money works, they are not prepared to face the world that awaits them. A world in which spending is emphasized over savings. When my oldest son became hopelessly in debt with his credit cards as a freshman in college, I not only helped him destroy the credit cards, but I also went in search of a program that would help me educate my children on financial matters. One day last year, my husband called me from his office. I have someone I think you should meet, he said. His name is Robert Kiyosaki. He's a businessman and investor, and he is here applying for a patent on an educational product. I think it's what you have been looking for. Well, just let me chance to be there. Haha. Now, just what I was looking for. Second part. My husband, Mike, was so impressed with Cashflow, the new educational product that Robert Kiyosaki was developing, that he arranged for both of us to participate in a test of the prototype. Because it was an educational game, I also asked my 19-year-old daughter, who was a freshman at a local university, if she would like to take part, and she agrees. Aha! About 15 people, broken into 3 groups, participated in the test. Mike was right. It was the educational product I had been looking for, but it had a twist. It looked like a colorful Monopoly board with a giant, well-dressed rat in the middle. Unlike Monopoly, however, there were 2 tracks on side and on outside. The object of the game was to get out of the inside track, what Robert called the rat race, and reach the outer track, or the fast track. As Robert put it, the first track simulates how rich people play in real life. Robert then defined the rat race for us. If you look at the life of the average educated, hardworking person, there is a similar path. The child is born and goes to school. The proud parents are excited because the child excels, gets fed good grades, and is accepted into a college. The child graduates, maybe goes on to graduate school, and then does exactly as programmed. Looks for a secure job or career. The child finds that job, maybe as a doctor or a lawyer, or joins the army, or works for the government. Generally, the child begins to make money. Credit cards start to arrive in mass, and the shopping begins, if it already hasn't. Having money to burn, the child goes to places where other young people just like them hang out, and they meet people, they date, and sometimes they get married. Life is wonderful now, because today, both men and women work to encounter bliss. Haha, they feel successful. Their future is bright, and they decide to buy a house, a car, a television, take vacations, and have children. The happy bundle arrives, right? The demand for cash is enormous. The happy couple decides that their careers are vitally important and begin to work harder, seeking promotions and raises. The raises come, and so does another child and the need for a bigger house. They work harder, become better employees, even more dedicated. They go back to school to get more specialized skills so they can earn more money. Maybe, just maybe, they take a second job. Their incomes go up, but so does the tax bracket they are in, and the real estate taxes on their new large home, and their social security taxes, and all the other taxes. They get their large paycheck and wonder where all the money went. They buy some mutual funds and buy groceries with their credit cards. The children reach 5 or 6 years of age, and the need to save for college increases, as well as the need to save for their retirement. That happy couple born 35 years ago is now trapped in the rat race for the rest of their working days. They work for the owners of their company, for the government paying taxes, and for the bank paying off mortgages and credit cards. Then they advise their own children to study hard, get good grades, and find a safe job or career. They learn nothing but money, except from those who profit from their naivete. Naivety. naivety, right? And work hard all their lives. The process repeats into another hardworking generation. This is the rat race. The only way to get out of the rat race is to prove your proficiency at both accounting and investing. Arguably, two of the most difficult subjects to master. As a trained CPA who once worked for a Big 8 accounting firm, I was surprised that Robert had made the learning of these two subjects both fun and exciting. The process was so well disguised that while we were diligently working to get out of the rat race, we quickly forgot we were learning. Soon a project test turned into a fun afternoon with my daughter, talking about things we had never discussed before. As an accountant, playing a game that required an, just income statement and balance sheet was easy. So I had the time to help my daughter and the other players at my table with concepts they didn't understand. I was the first person and the only person in the entire test group to get out of the rat race that day. Exactly. I was out within 15 minutes, although the game went on for nearly 3 hours. At my table was a banker, a business owner, and a computer programmer. What greatly disturbed me was how little these people knew about either accounting or investing, subjects so important in their lives. I wondered how they managed their own financial affairs in real life. I could understand why my 19-year-old daughter wouldn't understand, but these were grown adults, at least twice her age. After I was out of the rat race, for the next 2 hours, I watched my daughter and these educated, affluent adults roll the dice and move their markers. Although I was glad they were all learning so much, I was disturbed by how much the adults didn't know about the basics of simple accounting and investing. They have difficulty grasping the relationship between their income statement and their balance sheet. As they bought and sold assets, they had trouble remembering that each transaction could impact their monthly cash flow. I thought, how many millions of people are out there in the real world struggling financially only because they have never been taught these subjects? No. Just think about it. Thank goodness. Thank goodness they are having fun and are just distracted by the desire to win the game. I said to myself, after Robert ended the contest, he allowed us 15 minutes to discuss and critique cash flow among ourselves. The business owner at my table was not happy. He did not like the game. I don't need to know this, he said. I hire accountants, bankers, and attorneys to tell me about this stuff. To which Robert replied, have you ever noticed that there are a lot of accountants who aren't rich? And bankers and attorneys and stockbrokers and real estate brokers? Aha, they knew. Exactly. But I thought they wouldn't. By the way, they know a lot and for the most part are smart people, but most of them are not rich. Since our skills do not test people what there is no, why take advice from these people? But one day you were driving down the highway, stuck in traffic, struggling to get to work, and you look over to your right and you see your accountant is stuck in the same traffic jam. You look to your left and you see your banker. That should tell you something. What do you think? The computer programmer was also unimpressed by the game. I can buy software to test me this. Aha. The banker, however, was moved. I studied this in school, the accountant part. That is, but I never knew how to apply it to real life. Now I know I need to get myself out of the rat race. But it was my daughter's comments that most touched me. I had fun learning, she said. I learned a lot about how money really works and how to invest. Then she added, now I know I can choose a profession for the work I want to perform, and not because of job security, benefits, or how much I get paid. If I learn what this game teaches, I'm free to do and study what my heart wants to study, rather than study something because businesses are looking for certain job skills. If I learn this, I won't have to worry about job security and social security the way most of my classmates already do. I was not able to stay and talk with Robert after we had played the game, but we agreed to meet later to further discuss his project. I knew he wanted to use the game to help others become more financially savvy, and I was eager to hear more about his plans. My husband and I set up a dinner meeting with Robert and his wife within the next week. Although it was our first social get-together, we felt as if we had known each other for years. We found out we had a lot in common. We covered the gamut, from sports and plays to restaurants and socioeconomic issues. We talked about the changing world. Exactly. We spent a lot of time discussing how most Americans have little. We spent a lot of time discussing how most Americans have little or nothing saved for retirement, as well as the almost bankrupt state of Social Security and Medicare. Would my children be required to pay for the retirement of 75 million baby boomers? We wondered if people realize how risky it is to depend on our pension plans. So here's the point. Think and rethink. Right. Here I want to finish here today. And of course, this podcast will be uploaded to my channel gradually. So this is our part 1. So guys, if you like this, why don't you subscribe our channel? Just do it. And next session will be uploaded soon. Till then, be cool and be happy. Bye.